Now, the DNC, or the Democratic National Committee, is now getting a lot of backlash after they announced on Wednesday that they would not host a climate-specific presidential primary debate and instead will also punish candidates who attend debates hosted by other organizations. So now, this is very important because, look, climate action is essential right now. We have less than 12 years to right the ship when it comes to alternative energy and getting off of fossil fuels. Now, knowing that context, why would you not want to have a climate-focused debate? Again, that's really, really important, right? But look, okay, so look, if the DNC doesn't want to host its own debate, okay, that's fine, right? And let's look at the reasons, right? The reason is probably they don't want to piss off their donors in the fossil fuel industry, which, of course, look, they eliminated the Obama administration's mandate to not take corporate lobbyists. And the DNC has not signed any fossil fuel, not taking fossil fuel money pledge. So they probably do get a lot of corporate fossil fuel money, or at least from these fossil fuel PACs. Okay, look, that's fine. It's not fine, but in the context of this, of them not hosting a debate, whatever. It would be nice if they did. But again, we know that the DNC sucks anyway, so that's whatever. We know that. The problem here that I have is punishing candidates who go to another debate. That's the problem here. That's the big problem. Okay? That's way too much. Now, of course, the decision to not hold any debates and to punish people for going to other debates on the climate was criticized by Governor Jay Inslee. Now, Governor Jay Inslee gets credit here because he was the first Democratic contender to call for a debate focused solely on the climate crisis. Now, he's been very focused on the climate. That's basically what his candidacy is all about. Now, he said, quote, "Today my team received a call from the Democratic National Committee letting us know that they will not host a climate debate. Further, they explained that if we participated in anyone else's climate debate, we will not be invited to future debates. This is deeply disappointing." Indeed. He also said, "The DNC is silencing the voices of Democratic activists, many of our progressive partner organizations, and nearly half of the Democratic presidential field who want to debate on the existential crisis of our time." Again, very, very strong statement here. And he's right. There's a lot of Democratic contenders. Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, calling for this debate. Jay Inslee. I'm not sure who else, but I'm sure there are other candidates who are also very interested in talking about climate change. Now, Inslee continues. He said, "The next president must make defeating this crisis the top priority of the nation, and I will continue to do everything I humanly can to ensure the climate crisis is at the top of the national agenda." Now, environmental groups, of course, echoed Inslee's statement. For example, the U.S. Youth Climate Strike. Now, they launched a petition calling on the DNC to host a climate debate, and so far has over 53,000 signatures. Now, they vowed to fight back against the committee's refusal to give the climate crisis a national spotlight. They said, quote, "Disappointed to learn DNC will not honor the rallying cries of their own base." Again, that's not shocking. And will not only not host a climate debate, but will also ban any candidate who participates in one from participating in DNC debates. Again and again, the establishment and adults have failed us. We need policy now. Well, to be fair, that's kind of what the DNC is known for, ignoring their base. That's what they do the best. They ignore us. And they, of course, continue to push the establishment because they are the establishment. Now, Brandy Doyle, campaign manager for Credo Action, had her statement. She said, "Tom Perez doesn't seem to care much about the climate crisis." Well, I'm sure he does care, actually. Just not as much as he cares about collecting checks to the DNC from fossil fuels. That said, she continues, "This move is a slap in the face to the hundreds of thousands of climate activists and all of the candidates calling on the DNC to hold a dedicated climate debate. It isn't too late for Tom Perez and other leaders of the DNC to come to their senses. They'll find out soon enough that it's going to take a lot more than a quiet phone call to one campaign to silence the growing demands for a climate debate. Now, in an attempt to, of course, to calm the backlash, Tom Perez posted some rather frantic tweets, assuring that everyone that he has personally told media partners seeking to host a 2020 primary debate how important it is for climate change to be debated during each and every debate. Quote, "The DNC will not be holding entire debates on a single issue area. We want to make sure voters have the ability to hear from candidates on all the issues. You have my word that I will do everything I can to make sure our candidates are able to debate the critical issues during this primary." I'm sorry, but I don't believe him. With so many candidates and so many issues, climate change is not going to get the time it deserves, even if you have the best of intentions, which I don't know if Tom Perez does. But here's the thing, right? And the reason that we're so skeptical is because we can just look at past debates. According to Grist, back in 2016, who wrote this article, media, I should say, spent 5 minutes and 27 seconds on climate change and other environmental issues in the 3 presidential debates that were held. That was a total of 2% of the time spent in debates. And most of that, of course, was Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton only talked for 5 minutes on climate change during the entire debate. Not only that, but there was a report published in April by Public Citizen that found that corporate media networks have systematically failed to devote sufficient time to the climate crisis, which activists argue should, given the existential threat it poses, dominate the headlines. Now, is it any surprise, of course, why we are so skeptical? We don't believe you. We don't believe you. We need a climate debate. Now, the Sunrise Movement, led by young people, said this, quote, "This is an outrage. Almost every major candidate has supported the call for a climate debate, but the DNC won't even let the American people hear their plans for one of the greatest challenges of our time. This is an emergency. We need the Democrats to act like it." Now, one person that immediately responded to this was Senator Elizabeth Warren. She said late Wednesday night that Governor Inslee is exactly right. Quote, "Climate change is the biggest challenge we face. Every candidate running for president should have a serious set of policies to address it and should be eager to defend those proposals in a debate." And to that, I absolutely agree. Hear, hear. We need a climate-focused debate because, you know what? We all deserve to know who has the best ideas and the best policies to fight for our planet. They need to devote at least an hour. All we're asking for is one debate, an hour and a half, just to talk about who's got the better plans for climate change, who actually has a plan, and who might have copied a plan from someone else. Looking at you, Joe Biden. We deserve to know because, again, this is an existential crisis. I covered a report that said that it's a good possibility that by 2050, if we do nothing about this, we continue with the status quo, we could be looking at the end of human civilization by 2050. Or at least the start of the end of the human civilization by 2050. That's the disaster. We have to have this conversation, and we have to have it now. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.